Greetings viewers, and this video is about the proposed border poll in Northern Ireland. Well, Sinn Féin's goal has been a 32 county republic since 1917. Prior to that it was a monarchist party. In recent years I wonder whether it was coming full circle to being monarchist again, because the Sinn Féin, in their charm offensive against unionists, had some kind words for the House of Windsor. But in recent days they've been talking about a plebiscite in Northern Ireland, and if most people in Northern Ireland wish to join the Republic of Ireland, then Northern Ireland will leave the UK and merge with the Republic. So it's fascinating the way they didn't want this till very recently, saying not for at least 5 years. And amazingly, way back in about 2001, it was David Trimble, leader of the Ulster Unionists, who proposed it. And Sinn Féin showed no urgency, I suppose because they knew they would lose. But now they're saying that there's an impetus for this sort of thing because of the abortion referendum. Really, there's no rhyme or reason to that. Abortion is one issue, and national identity and borders are another. The Republic of Ireland is now allowing abortion. Northern Ireland doesn't. I don't really see how that would push Northern Ireland to join the Republic of Ireland. I know unionists in the old days used to say that the Republic of Ireland is a semi-theocracy and we don't want the Catholic hierarchy dictating aspects of our private lives and blah, blah, blah. But those days are long over, obviously. It was fascinating the way the abortion debate moved on. Some of the pro-choice arguments is we must be good little Europeans and kill our children by the thousand. Whereas in the 80s, the rhetoric, well, the pro-life set aside, part of it was we mustn't have abortion because that's an English thing, although there were obviously many more reasons to be against it. So the pro-UK side in Northern Ireland would win, but not by much. Well, here's why. We obviously have electoral statistics, and unionists are narrowly ahead of nationalists. What's fascinating is the growth of people who don't identify with either community, and that more people are willing to be both Irish and British. Obviously, as well as being Irish and British, you might call yourself Ulster or Northern Irish. These people, these sort of floating voters, could go either way, I suppose. So some people are unionists on principle, and some people are unionists for more pragmatic reasons to do with subsidies. And likewise, there's some people who are nationalists who are not open to persuasion out of that, and then some people who are, again, nationalists for expedient reasons, but could be convinced to stay in the UK, at least temporarily. So it was scintillating to see a few years ago that something like 80% of people wanted to remain in the UK, even those who voted SDLP, even a few voted Sinn Féin. So there we are. That was before the Brexit vote. So nationalists believe that Brexit has given them a big fillip, and especially if Brexit goes badly and it impacts negatively on border communities, it's more difficult to travel, there are border checks and trade is hurt. So it's kind of the old revolutionary slogan, the worse, the better. They would like as much grief as possible because they think that will infuriate people and cause such anguish that people will seek a desperate solution of joining the Republic of Ireland. Well, not really desperate, but want a change, certainly make them dissatisfied. So look back to the referendum on the European Union. 45% of people voted to leave. Now, almost every single one of those was a unionist, so they'll vote for the UK again. Now, Remain had 55% of the vote, and most of those were nationalists. There are a few Remain unionists, so obviously if all the Remainers voted to join the Republic of Ireland, then that would happen. But some unionists have got to decide what's more important to them, the United Kingdom or the European Union. And I don't know of a single unionist who'd say the European Union, that matters to me more. Now, there are obviously some people who, as I say, are soft unionists, and they might be convinced to join the Republic of Ireland because they're only unionists on pragmatic grounds. Perhaps I should say pro-union rather than unionist. There's another factor. Abortion could go the other way. Some pro-life nationalists might say, well, let's stay in the United Kingdom because Northern Ireland doesn't have abortion at the moment. Don't know there'll be too many of those. And there could be devolution in Northern Ireland, but Sinn Féin has prevented that for a year and a half. Again, it's a bitter irony. It was always saying, oh, no London rule, no direct rule. We want absolutely nothing to do with the English. We've got nothing in common whatsoever with our kith and kin and people who share our culture. Is absolute drivel. But they're the ones who are keeping it this way by keeping the decisions affecting Northern Ireland made in London, by not resurrecting the Northern Ireland Assembly. I know they've got some beef with Arlene Foster, but they don't go on about that much more. That seems far more important to them than bringing back devolution. Now, Sinn Féin is obviously the main nationalist party and would spearhead that campaign, and I suppose they've got assets in the shape of Mary Lou McDonald and Michelle O'Neill, these two dynamic, fairly young women, reasonably popular, no skeletons in the cupboard so far as I can see, and they won't be asked awkward questions about kidnappings and killings back in the Troubles. So that's that. I don't think they'll quite make it. I could be wrong, but even if it's defeated this time, it could happen in 50 years' time. There we are. It's been London's policy since the 1920s that the two parts of Ireland would voluntarily join together. Of course, in the 20s and 30s was very different. There was the Irish Free State, and his idea would be a dominion within the British Empire. British Empire's long gone. If nationalists really want to charm unionists, there's a lot they could do. Republic of Ireland, very first thing, rejoin the Commonwealth. We'd still be a republic. We could be a Commonwealth realm on the lines of Jamaica or New Zealand, with the Queen as our head of state. We could still have a president. This could be endlessly flexible, almost like having two heads of state. We could have him or her as a governor general, an elected governor general. Most governor generals are appointed. No reason why one couldn't be elected. So we could have the best of both worlds. The Irish tricolour. We could have the British flag on the middle of it, occupying roughly 20% of the area of the flag, so that because about 20% of people are unionists. All these things would make that united Ireland more likely. So will the border poll happen? Shouldn't happen until Brexit, at least. See which ways it goes. It could help the nationalist cause. It could harm it. But I suppose they want it now because they're worried that Brexit might be a rip-roaring success, and they don't want that to happen. They want people to be frightened and think Brexit's going to wreck the economy. Let's split and join the Republic of Ireland. We shall see. So in these Brexit negotiations, the UK is going to stay part of the common market for the foreseeable future until and unless a new trade deal can be worked out with the European Union, which seems an unlikely prospect because all 27 member states would have to agree to that. So I think being part of this single market is not going to go on simply till 2021, but much longer. So it's looking good for the Remainers because the Brexit might be in name only. Now, Theresa May is going to have to upset somebody with Brexit. The extremist Remainers will never be happy. The hardcore Brexiteers will not be dissatisfied. Moderate Brexiteers and moderate Remainers might be okay with this. But the DUP, they want to leave the UK to leave the European Union, and they want no friction on the border. Now, that's a very tall order. It's very hard to reconcile these two things. If somebody's got to be hacked off, it's going to have to be the DUP. They've only got 10 MPs. I know they're propping up the Conservative and Unionist Party with confidence and supply, but they're relatively small. She might be able to afford to irritate them, because what are they going to do? Collapse her government? Bring in a Labour government under Jeremy Corbyn as Prime Minister? It wouldn't take a general election to do that necessarily. He might form a minority government, have some sort of confidence and supply from the SNP, from the Liberal Democrats. So the DUP don't want that. That's a doomsday scenario. That would weaken their hand considerably. They might yet do it, but I doubt it. So somebody is going to be dissatisfied, and they're the weakest group, so she can afford to hack them off. One of the arguments against having a hard Brexit is there would be dissident terrorism again, and indeed there might, but that's not a reason not to do it. The United Kingdom, like all EU member states, has the absolute right to leave the European Union. That is enshrined in the Treaty of Lisbon, which all member states agreed. They all gave each other permission to leave. I know the Good Friday Agreement mentions that the Irish Republic and the UK are EU member states. It doesn't require them to stay part of it. Even if it did, that would be superseded by Lisbon when they granted permission to each other to leave if they wished. So that's that. So I don't think the UK should be intimidated saying, oh, we can't do this because so-and-so would attack us. No, if this is what we want, if this is right, we have the right to do that, and we're willing to suffer the consequences. You've got to have a little bit of courage and not have one's politics dictated by a few hundred terrorists who are completely incompetent right now. I don't want a recrudescence of the conflict, but if somebody else starts it, that's their fault, not mine. Anyway, will we see a border poll? Sinn Féin will be not too vociferous about it, but if they didn't, well, then they wouldn't have much to say. They would lose their raison d'être, and perhaps they're just allowing some people to let off steam by using this rhetoric. So Brexit is due to be completed next March. So I don't think even if there is a border plebiscite, that would be for a couple of years. Curiously, Dublin has not been calling for this very much, but that could change.